The Satsuma Rebellion. End of a way of life. Japan is an archipelago consisting of 4 main islands: Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku. Its mesmerizing landscape and amazing metropolitan sites are marvels in natural and human engineering. Today, Japan is a unified nation with a large economy and top-of-the-line technology. But Japan was not always united. During Rome's mighty conquests to Europe's Middle Ages, even after the U.S. Civil War, Japan was an isolated country still implementing a feudal government. The samurai, the Japanese equivalent to the knight, were king in this time. The Mongol invasions of the 1200s failed in part due to the samurai's ferocity on the battlefield. While they were united against the Mongols, the samurai's masters, the daimyo, fought against one another for more land, resources, and glory after the Mongols had been expelled from the country. Fighting raged on until daimyo Tokugawa Ieyasu's victory in 1603. He established the well-known Tokugawa shogunate. Afterward, several Tokugawa shoguns ruled it for nearly 300 years. In the 1860s, however, events occurred that would alter Japan's course of development forever. Early on in the shogunate's creation, Dutch traders made contact with the country. These relations were kept under strict control, though, and only trade was permitted. The Dutch traders were forced to live on the island of Dejima and could go no further. It wasn't until 1853, when a fleet of warships led by U.S. Commodore Matthew Perry traveled to the country, that Japan's doors were formally opened for good. It was at this time that foreigners' reach in Japan expanded much, much farther than it had been. Many European nations rushed to make quick alliances with the country. The ruling Japanese emperor, Meiji, promoted these changes, and for good reason. Up until this point, Japan was lagging behind the rest of the world in technology. European nations took advantage of other Asian countries who were not capable of defending themselves. They turned them into colonies and raped the land of its resources. This prompted Meiji to quickly industrialize and militarize in any way possible. For resources and trade agreements, Japan would receive new weaponry and economic machines. Meiji was not alone in his support for industrialization. The Satsuma samurai clan leader, Saigo Takamori, threw his support to the imperial court. His loyalty would soon be tested. The Boshin War. The Tokugawa shogunate was increasingly becoming rebellious against the imperial court. Tokugawa Yoshinobu and Emperor Meiji were not on each other's good side, so a truce was impossible. The relocation of the capital from traditional Kyoto to Tokyo did not aid the situation. In 1868, fighting broke out between forces loyal to the shogunate and imperial troops. Although highly outnumbered, the imperial troops won with their newly acquired muskets, cannon, and armor. The Tokugawa's forces retreated to Hokkaido, where they held up until Tokugawa Yoshinobu's surrender. Aside from a small sacking of Satsuma Palace, Saigo fought the war without any losses. However, while loyal to the emperor then, the samurai would soon turn on Meiji. Discontent among the samurai. The samurai's main weapon, the katana, has spiritual meaning to the samurai. The Haito Edict of 1876 restricted the use of katana to military and police officers. This act is one of the main causes for the samurai's revolt. In Satsuma, Saigo had formally retired and gathered a large following of peaceful samurai. The imperial court feared that Saigo might be gathering troops to fuel a rebellion. In January of 1877, the government sent a brigade of Satsuma to disarm the town. After this, and an attempt on Saigo's life, the samurai had had enough. In February of the same year, Saigo prepared for war and gathered a fighting force of nearly 30,000. Saigo chose to attack the fortification of Kumamoto. With the imperial troops and few skirmishers, Kumamoto would have been an easy capture. However, without any cannon, the siege was impossible. In September, after several attempted negotiations, Saigo made his last stand at Satsuma. His withered army of 370 samurai with few guns squared off against 300,000 troops with cannon and muskets. The attack begun during the early morning of the 24th of January and reduced Saigo's forces to only 40 by 6 a.m. About a dozen of his men pulled him off the battlefield and helped him commit the ceremonial suicide, seppuku. The last of the samurai made one final charge, but were mowed down by Galton guns, the first machine guns. The new modernized country of Japan had no place for the old ways of the samurai. Any samurai that were left had to make a compromise with themselves, lay down their swords, give up their old ways of life, and become normal citizens in industrial Japan. Although the samurai died out, they are still remembered today. One can walk into any historical museum and see remnants of these warriors' ancient past. The samurai's legend has even made it into entertainment realms. Hit shows like Spike's Afro Samurai and Cartoon Network's Samurai Jack entertain large numbers of viewers. The legend of the samurai has even made it to the silver screen. The 2003 movie, The Last Samurai, starring Tom Cruise, brought the story of the Satsuma Rebellion into view. The final scenes of this movie were inspired by Saigo's last stand. While the samurai may be gone, their legend is one that will live on for many, many decades to come.